Good afternoon. Many of you, my friends on Facebook, social media, in the UK, Nigeria, have been calling me and asked for my opinion about the talk, discussion, presentation that was given by General Muhammad Buhari earlier today at Chatham House. Although I prepared a written speech in response to his delivery today, I just felt that I should personally deliver this to those of you who are opportune to be watching this short clip. I'm delighted, of course, that the long-awaited first appearance of Barr Buhari in London during this much publicized February 2015 working visit finally came to pass earlier today at Chatham House. Although denied attendance to the venue by invitation, we were able to follow the event on live streaming. And I personally am satisfied that the event was real, that the event took place. That is before people start saying that it was perhaps doctored or recycled material from 2013. But I think we've all been taken for a ride. Taken for a ride by his party and by his followers. I also believe that the performance of the general was below par. So why am I so critical in my assessment of the performance of the general? As I've stated, without a doubt, a below average performance. And I base that on a number of suppositions which I will present to you now. Taken, of course, from my paper, which will be circulated in due course. First of all, the event took place at the prestigious Chatham House, which is, of course, a renowned Royal Institute of International Affairs, which is an institute for independent policy and is designed for building a sustained, secure, prosperous, and just world. It is a place where high-level debates are conducted, not a forum, in my opinion, for town hall discussions. I believe that it was a bad choice of venue to project, of course, my beloved Nigeria as a nation, given the substandard level of policy initiatives that were contained in the retired general's paper. I believe we were shortchanged. The second point of concern for me is that whilst this was a presentation that was given by General Muhammad Buhari himself, many people in the past have opined that the late Tunde Idiagmo of blessed memory was the real brain box behind and, of course, the driving force of the 1983-1984 Buhari-Idiagmo administration. And I personally have always defended Barr Buhari, saying that the leader should always take the credits and the discredits for any administration. Today, of course, the APC's candidate was found naked, and his nakedness was seriously exposed as being very ordinary in substance and inept in policy content. Doubtless, many of us have watched the debates that have ensued between the governorship candidates of the APC and the PDP in Lagos State, Messrs. Ambode and Mrs. Agbaji. They are seeking, of course, to be elected as governor of Lagos State. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Nigerian terrain, there are 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, which make up Nigeria. And both of them, you will agree with me, were very deep and thorough in their expositions and policy initiatives that are required to take Lagos State to the next level of expansion and development. This level of aptitude and proficiency was conspicuously absent today, either in the pre-prepared speech that was delivered by General Buhari, and more particularly in the interactive sessions that followed shortly after. You will agree with me, some may not. It is very, very easy for any person to read a prepared speech on behalf of their political party and of course in defense of the party manifesto. But candidates usually get found out when it comes to the question and answers session or crossfire. And in my opinion, Buhari performed very badly in this area, and that's my humble submission. In spite of the assistance that he got from Sir Richard Gosney, who's the former British High Commissioner to Nigeria between 2004 and 2007. He moderated the event and had indicated right at the outset that he would not entertain any questions that were not in line with the General's presentation. Fifth point. So what did Buhari say in response to some of the key questions that were posed by members of the audience and through Twitter? He was asked the question, how will you tackle poverty, high youth unemployment and inequality in Nigeria? The General's reply, by using the savings from blocking leaks in the system and voluntary recovery of ill-gotten wealth. So what happens if you cannot block the leaks? And what happens if ill-gotten wealth is not voluntarily rendered? Question to an answer. On the accusation of being a former dictator, the General said, it goes with the terrain of being a military ruler, and he takes full responsibility for it. So, in essence, he agreed that, yes, he's a military dictator, or was a military dictator, or still is a military dictator, but that goes with the terrain of military rule, so it should be forgiven. On what staggering achievements we can expect during, or look forward to, during the first 100 days of a Buhari administration come May 2015. And the General said, when we get there, we will tell Nigerians what we will do, because the first 100 days is a creation of politicians, and we need to temper reasonableness with high expectations. Some may say that, of course, that's a good answer, but I would say, and I would submit humbly, that it is an empty answer. An answer given by someone who really has no plans, especially for his first 100 days. He was asked the question, Nigeria did outstandingly well in dealing with the Ebola crisis. So how will he continue this in the area of health? And the General replied, health has deteriorated over the last 16 years. Forgetting, of course, that it's not just the PDP that have been in charge of health in the country, because so has his party in various states. But he said that it's been in deterioration over the last 60 years, and this is something that they hope to remedy through the studies that are contained in their manifesto. But he quickly gave credit to the APC governors in Rivers and Lagos State, taking credit for the Ebola crisis that was well handled, I would submit, by the leadership of President Goodluck Jonathan. He was then asked the question, by disarming Boko Haram and arming the military, will it not be an attack on the northern part of Nigeria? As it's recorded that you once said an attack on Boko Haram was indeed an attack on the northern part of Nigeria. The General's answer to that question was, anybody that says that hasn't got it right. So is that the case that he didn't get it right then, or he hasn't got it right now, or there's no hope of him getting it right? He was asked the question, General, what are your top 3 priorities for attracting foreign investments to Nigeria? His answer, we shall make sure we have a secure country for people to invest. Now I ask the question, is that a proper answer to the question? And indeed, if you're talking about securing the country and security, that's only 1 out of 3 top priorities. Again, the General only came with 1 answer. On the question, Nigeria is divided against itself today. What will you do to address this? And the presidential candidate of the APC, Buhari, replied, whilst appreciating the problem, the Nigerian constitution provides accommodation and understanding for the differences amongst us. But there is, of course, cohesion in the military. Now I ask myself, did the general not understand the question? Nigeria is divided against itself today, and what will you do to address this? He was asked a question: how will you avert civil disturbances in the event that the postponed elections that are to hold on the 28th of March turn out not to be free, fair, and credible? And the answer that the general gave: our manifesto is the first thing to look at. And, of course, we have been screaming to the high heavens, and the whole world has heard us, that we should have a free, fair, and credible elections. But the question was, if it doesn't go your way, how will you prevent civil disturbances? The jury is still out. The general was then asked, how will you continue to engage the young people who have been mobilized during this campaign all over the country? And the general's answer: we have to engage them somehow. Because, of course, everywhere I go, they're running after my car. Oh, then the general was asked, what will you do about the high salaries that are being paid to members of the National Assembly, that is the Senate and the House of Representatives? And he pointed to the fact that perhaps some of them are sitting here in front of him. But more importantly, he said, that's not something for us to talk about now. Finally, in the list of questions that I've taken, because I took a snippet, he was asked, do you have a position on Sharia law? And the general said, Sharia is limited in scope to its area of operation. The Nigerian constitution is indeed superior. My dear people, the straw that broke the camel's back was when Barr Buhari was quizzed about how he felt about the campaigns and the general mood of Nigerian electorate. And the APC presidential candidate admitted that there was a high expectation of Nigerians across the length and breadth of the country, and that he was scared, his words not mine, about what will happen if they win. After all, and I'm quoting, you can't tell people that you can't put money into mining or agriculture, or that you can't improve their schools. So basically, Barr Buhari betrayed the hollowness of their manifesto on practical policies and projects that would be employed to bring about the desired results. And that a vote for him, indeed, is a vote for a dream that probably may not materialize in future. My dear people,